Greetings, everyone, and welcome to another edition of AUHSD Future Talks. I'm your host, Michael Matsuda, the superintendent of the Anaheim Union High School District. And as our 8,000 plus listeners know, this show is all about the future of education in America. And we've been so lucky over the past 2 years to have just amazing leaders. And today we have one of those, Patrick Gittisriboongul, the new superintendent of Lynwood Unified School District. Patrick, welcome to our show.
Hey, Mike, thanks for having me on. Really just appreciative of being on the show. Thank you for inviting me.
So I always start, Patrick, with who you are. And you just come right out and say, I'm a proud first-generation Asian American, the son of Thai immigrants, born and raised in Montebello, California. So take it from there, Patrick. Who are you and how did you arrive?
So, yeah, thanks, Mike. I have been in public education now for 24 plus years. I started my career as a secondary math teacher working in Montebello, California, the district where I actually grew up in. And from there, I spent, the last about 15 years in Montebello as a math teacher, a coordinator, an administrator, a director. And my specialty and expertise has always been around technology. Been fortunate to actually discover public education after having gotten laid off from the private sector, from the .com era, where I was a web developer, a programmer, and a project manager. I think when it comes to technology, when it comes to tools and computers and platforms and web-based websites and the internet, for me, education, technology, all of that really transformed and changed my life. I think if it wasn't for, having great teachers, having great, mentors, having great, experiences throughout my public education career, I probably would have never finished college. I did graduate, obviously, but, I think if it wasn't for all of that coming into the right time and really getting me prepared for, what the world is going to look like in that era of the internet, if you will, I probably would, be somewhere else. But, everything happens for a reason. And so I think when it comes to just being in public education, being in the private sector, I think all of that has really helped identify who I am. I am a proud Thai American. Both my parents, came here in the late 60s. They came here on a student visa. And they both attended Cal State LA, right? So my mom was an accounting major. My dad, I don't know what kind of major he was. I think he was a business major, right? But they met each other in college, but they had gone to elementary school back in Thailand. And so things happened for a reason, obviously. And so they met each other, fell in love, had my older brother in early 70 and then had me, another 5 years later. And so, both my parents ended up dropping out of college because guess what? They had to raise their kids, my older brother and myself. And so that experience personally, working and really living and learning from, immigrants, Thai immigrants, who didn't speak the language, who, tried to live the American dream and raise both my brother and I, in Southern California, the LA area, really helped shape and define me as a school district administrator, as a leader, as a, someone who was really passionate about technology. Because again, hardest working man I know is my father, who would do odds and ends, would do all kinds of jobs. And so, that has really helped shape how I approach, everything, making sure that I, I'm empathetic to other people.
The superintendent does, right? Odds and ends, kinds of jobs, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Mr. Fix-It. Let me ask you, Lynwood is predominantly Latino, right? Isn't it like 90% or something like that, right?
95%.
Very few Asians there.
Yeah.
How do you sort of straddle that in terms of building trust with the community that you're not perceived as one of them?
That's a good question, because that has come up, and even in my meetings with many of the parents, but the parents often ask me, you're an Asian American, how do you connect with the community? And I tell them, like, it doesn't matter if I'm Asian American. All the kids that come to this district is deserving of a high quality world-class education. So regardless of where you come from, regardless of who you are, regardless of your background, your race, your ethnicity, for me, in leading an organization that is predominantly Hispanic, Latino, again, my deepest appreciation for this community and for this immigrant community, if you will, really resonates with me and resonates with my story, my background, my family, that living that American dream, wanting just to have my parents raise me, and live that American dream, ensure that their kids had a world-class education. So that in turn, that's my obligation, my leadership to serve this community in a way that is deserving of them as well. So, regardless of who you are, your race, it should not matter. So whether you're African American, Black, brown, Indonesian, Asian, white, thank you, Mike, white, it shouldn't matter. So like, again, that deep appreciation for the community that I serve, the empathy that I experience, that again, that.
Let me ask you this. I mean, there's a lot of pressure on, especially urban districts, urban superintendents, right? Because of the whole immigration challenges. Right. It really comes down to trust, right? Correct. What are you besides meeting with the parents, stuff like that, how are you building the intentional relational capital that we need moving forward? Because these are really volatile times now.
Well, again, it's constant communication, it's constant reassurance, trust, and you know this very well, Mike. It's earned, and it's earned by your actions. It's communicates, earn how visible you are within the community. And so for me, trying to be out and about, going to back to school nights, going to coffee with the principals, sending correspondence, getting out in front, sharing a video, just again, reassuring families that Lynwood community and the Lynwood Unified School District remains a safe haven district is often, the best way to approach that, and to continue to assure, reaffirm, and provide a lot of confidence in the community and our leadership and our styles. Whatever we can do to make sure that our principals, our staff is also aware of that has been critical for us too. So, I often say that you have to communicate 7 times in 7 different ways. So whether it's in person, through email, through video, through like making sure you're out and about, again, walking to homes, visiting families. I think that's been our strategy here as a school district. We also are a community schools district as well. So, when we enroll a student, we know that we enroll the family. So just, again, looking at it holistically, looking at it and attacking and making sure that we're really intentional about reaching out to families in ways that is meaningful to them and that it's relevant as well. So like, when it comes to immigration, reassuring them, as always, we have signs on all our parking lots that says this is parking for district or school business only. So that, again, is another signal to reassure families that, our schools remain safe.
Mm-hmm. So you have a big opportunity in Lynwood in terms of redesigning an entire high school that's coming online in a few years. What are some of your big ideas with that school? And I know you've reached out to stakeholders. It's their idea. But what are some of the big transformational things that we can expect from this new high school?
Yeah, I always start with the 3 things that my 100-day plan as the new superintendent of Lynwood Unified School District is really taking us. It starts with making sure that every kid, every student, even family members and every staff is able to find their purpose. So that's the first part of it. The second part is we want to make sure that every student has a plan, right? So whatever that plan could be, a 4-year plan, an IEP, an individualized learning plan, a course schedule plan, all those kinds of different plans, a single site school plan for student achievement, the LCAP as a plan as well, our strategic plan, a Vision 2030 plan that we're working on right now. But having that plan in place is going to be critical as well. And then the path, right? So we want to make sure that every student has a path, and that's not a straight line. Oftentimes it could be jagged, it could be roundabout, it could be squiggly. And so, making sure that all of our students have a purpose, are able to find their purpose, that they have a plan in place, whether it's an individualized learning plan, an IEP, and then having that path in front of them. And that path could be 5 years, it could be 3 years, it could be whatever that plan or that path looks like. We want to make sure that every kid has it. So when it comes to redesigning high schools, I think there's no doubt that on that list of the characteristics and the values that features of success look like is really around positive developmental relationships. So for me, in an age of AI, in an age where you can have all the answers to a test, you can get everything at your fingertips. For me, having a caring adult that builds relationships with kids, that to me is one of the most important aspects. As part of my 100-day plan, and even in my first intro, I asked, what is the one thing that AI can't replace, and what is the one thing that you want to focus on this year as a staff? And for me, it's going to be making sure that we have relationships established, and whether that looks like smaller learning communities, whether it's having student-centered types of staffing, whether it's focusing on student success as well. Those are the things that we're looking at. So positive developmental relationships is really number one, and there's no intention why it's not number one on the list.
Yeah. So you talk about paths. I mean, you're talking, I assume, about career paths too, right? So career paths, in order to actualize that, you need to have partners out in the community that help you develop those. Could be business, corporate, nonprofit, higher ed for sure, community college. Could you talk to that issue? Are you coming in with those paths built, those partnerships built, or is that work to be done?
We have some partnerships built already, as part of our CTE programs. We have dual, credit programs with Cerritos College as well as Compton College. But I think one of the things that I would love to see happen here in Lynwood is ensuring that we have like a new 1-to-1 ratio where every student, regardless of your age, is able to get at least one industry experience. And so that industry experience could get operationalized as a field trip, or operationalized as a guest speaker, or get operationalized as some type of apprenticeship or externship, or even what we normally call as internships that we ask students to do. So I think, whatever that kind of continuum looks like when it comes to industry experiences, work readiness, college readiness, I think all of that has to play a part, from K all the way up until 12.
So how does that impact your teacher training, right? Because what you just described is more of an integrated approach, right? With content and so forth. So talk to me about that, and what are your plans, and how much, because that could be very challenging.
Yeah. So I think, Mike, this very well. I'm learning from you as well, is ensuring, number one, that we build some signature programs at each of our campuses. So whether you're at elementary school, I think we already have programs at the high school, obviously, but oftentimes I don't think we've done enough in terms of, giving schools and elementary schools and even middle schools what we call an identity. And that identity could really, really be synonymous with the type of program that gets established. So by doing so, then, we're able to build PD that's focused around, the identity of a school, a signature program of the school, which could be STEM related, it could be visual performing arts related, it could be sports related, it could be global awareness related, you name it. We think of all the different programs on why we want to send our kids to. We also want to make sure that we're able to establish those programs for families and students to select from as well. I would say when it comes to building capacity, yes, anything that has to do with, student experiences, I think we need to do a better job of collecting that type of data and identifying early on the type of strengths, the type of interests, the type of aspirations or values that many of our students are really trying to develop at an early age. So, sometimes we see that in character-based education, but I think we need to evolve that character-based education to be more college and career exploration. So, for a 10-year-old to be able to say, hey, Mr. Matsuda, I just took an assessment in my elementary school class that helped me identify what my strengths are, and I'm artistic, or I'm really great at I have great skills when it comes to critical thinking or problem solving. I think that is something that I'm really looking to establish moving forward. At the end of the day too, I'm also looking at transcripts, right? So oftentimes we look at a transcript, we look at grades, GPAs, we look at course completion, we look at credits attempted, credits attempted and credits earned, but we never look at, the strengths and values that kids have. That doesn't get put in a transcript. And wouldn't it be nice to have something along those lines in a student transcript?
A more robust.
And that transcript. Yeah, exactly.
Right. And so I know we're already, getting close to running out of time, but I do want to come back to AI. I mean, there are very few superintendents that came from tech, that you have the grounding from the private sector in tech. And you would mention how important AI is, right? It goes without saying. What are your big ideas in integrating AI into the K-12 space without replacing teachers, more about augmenting teaching and learning in the classroom?
Yeah, that's a great question, Mike. I do think that, again, that AI should always have humans in the loop. I've been adamant that when it comes to these tools, AI can never replace a teacher. It can only enhance what a teacher is doing. I know that, even in this new generation, we are getting more and more students that are coming to schools, AI, quote unquote, AI native, where, their tools and accessing all of these different LLMs, whatever it may be, they're becoming more proficient at these tools. So I think as the adults and as the educators in the room, we have an obligation to ensure that kids who are coming AI ready, that we're also, right, ensuring that they build those relationships, they build that skill, they build that literacy to be more informed about the content that they're consuming, the outputs that these AI models are, outputting, and that they really have a more critical lens in terms of what type of content that they're generating from these tools. So I think when it comes to AI literacy cannot be just using the tools. You also have to understand how it works. You also have to evaluate the content as well. So we think about media literacy, we think about information literacy. I think that has to evolve now to AI literacy as well, when every piece of content, every synthetic type of graphic can be AI generated. So it's a combination.
Moving from literacy to fluency, right? Which is what you just described.
Yep.
So I have some exit questions here. We've had an earlier conversation. I do believe that you're coming in. Your image, by the way, Patrick, is transformational. You're a leader with big ideas. You're innovative, but now you're in the seat. Right now, it's up to you. Right. Yeah. And oftentimes, what happens is people become very transactional. Right. They might come in with big ideas, but over time, they become transactional. And I guess one of the exit questions that I have is, what impact do you think leaders can have on organizations trying to be transformational?
I think it can have a profound impact. And I'm talking to one leader right now who I'm learning from, Mr. Matsuda, so who's had a profound impact on your organization as well. So I think, your question about what impact leaders can have, I think it can have a profound impact. I think as long as leaders continue to, focus on what matters, which is, again, student achievement, student success, creating those programs, creating the conditions that you have done, Mike, within your organization as well, to create those conditions that allow for every kid to thrive. And those conditions can look like in a number of ways. It could be community schools, it could be AI, it could be all these different tools, it could be mindfulness. But being able to establish programs, that really have, that are relevant to kids, that have a profound impact on families as well, to change the lives of kids, Mike, I know that you have been at it for, some time. And so being able to learn from you, being able to see the significant impact that you've had on your organization is really what I hope to do here in Lynwood as well. As I enter into, my first year as a superintendent, I again, it's all about crawl, walk, run, right? And I know that you've already run with all these programs. So I'm really trying to get all of the ideas, the strategies in place so that impact on families, on students, on the lives of kids can continue on even when I'm gone. And so that for me is where transformation happens. It's ensuring that not only that you're leaving a legacy, but that you're leaving, the school in the district in a much better place than it was when you got it. So, Mike, and your leadership, again, I'm learning from you. I'm learning about all the impact and, stuff that you've done in Anaheim, and being able to kind of model my leadership around what you've done is something that I'm looking at as well. But again, in my own way, in the way that I think it meets the needs of our community, that meets the needs of, all students here in Lynwood Unified.
Well, I think this 100-day plan that you have, and I'm looking, it is different than because I think you're very strategic about listening and evolving the plan and creating realistic expectations that are transformational. But I could tell you, having gone through some moving people's cheese, right, there's going to be pushback. Just because you're dealing with status quo, right? There's nothing wrong with anybody in the organization. It's just that human nature is one of knowing what you know, right? And
right.
When you have transformational ideas, it's going to be important in terms of how you communicate and how you communicate expectations moving forward, because it's a disruption. Right.
Oh yeah, and let me add to that, Mike. So
is that part of the 100-day plan in terms of?
It's part of the 100-day plan. It's also something that I've stressed and expressed with many of the staff. I think there's a formula for this when it comes to change, and it's really aligned to Noster's model. If you haven't heard of Noster, you can Google Noster's model for complex change. So what the argument is that when you have a vision, you have skills, you have motivation, you have resources and a plan, you get change. And so like that formula has to get balanced, right? So if you're missing a vision, people get confused. If you're missing skills, people get anxious. If you're missing motivation, there's resistance. If you're missing resources, people get frustrated. And if you're missing a plan, then you end up having these false starts. So, ensuring that formula gets balanced, where you have vision, skills, motivation, resources, and a plan, I think that's going to be critical in any organization who's managing complex change. So for me, that's my theory of action. That's the approach that I'm taking here in the organization. So that 100-day plan is the first step, obviously, but the next step is to gather as much the data as I can from all of the people I interact with, and then start, that process of sharing what the district can look like in the next 5 years. So what Vision 2030 can look like for the school district moving forward. So it's all about, future forward focused for us and mapping that out.
So we started this interview about identity. We'll end it with identity. What does your family, they must be very proud of the Thai community, very proud. I don't know, are your parents still around?
Both my parents are still around. Yep,
they are.
They're in Montebello. Yep, they're in Montebello. Yeah.
What's their reaction to all of this, Patrick?
I think they're very proud of me. I think I don't know if I am or not, but I think I'm the first Thai American superintendent probably in the nation. So I don't know if that's true. I can argue otherwise. But I've had a lot of, I just been very, very appreciative of my folks for coming here in the 60s, raising me and allowing me to live this American dream and really give back to the community, give back to this society in a way that really, makes me have a dent in the world, I guess you could say. But they've been very proud. They've been, they continue to express how proud they are of me. And, you know, again, I do that with my kids too. So it's a cycle, right? You know, just show your appreciation and then ensure that your kids, you know, are able to contribute to this world as well.
Well, Patrick, you're a man of big ideas, but you're also a man of humility as well. It's great to hear your story. And on behalf of all superintendents and all of our kids out there, welcome to the club of superintendents. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks for having me on. Really appreciate it.